Hi, everybody. I'd like to take a while to talk on the subject of peristalsis. Now, most people, when you mention that word to them, they raise their eyebrows, appear unsure, and may have never actually heard of the word. But everybody has heard the rumblings that take place in their tummy, either after they've eaten or if they perceive themselves to be hungry. Peristalsis is and does take place in the digestive tract, also called the alimentary canal. And it's controlled by a part of our nervous system, the autonomic nervous system. So it's unconscious. And it's controlling a muscular type of activation of contraction and relaxation, or better still, contraction and expansion. And so this is happening in the to push foodstuffs down through the esophagus into your stomach, whereas the processing, the breakdown of what you've ingested, and then it goes into your small intestine, and that's where absorption of nutrition takes place. And then from there is pushed out into the colon or the large intestine. I work in conjunction with a colonic hydrotherapist, and we often have conversations on the amount of our society or the percentage of our society that's constipated. And I would safely say in my work as a somatic therapist and as a rolfer over the years, I've seen the cause of constipation as a result of a decrease in peristalsis. What's even more fascinating is that when we learn what else peristalsis does, well, peristalsis is the number one way of processing unexpressed emotions that are stored in your body. So your body is like a conduit. Energy flows up and down the body on a vertical, gets blocked on a horizontal. And so when we're feeling different emotions coming up in our body, and if these emotions are not accepted, if we've been taught and we've been conditioned that the emotions we're showing, such as, we'll just say, for example, anger or sorrow or whatever, well, we unconsciously have to compress and suppress those emotions. And how we do it is that we actually start to contract our musculature. And that is the beginning of what's called muscular armor, or muscle armor is called. But when that prevails, it can spill over into your viscera, and your viscera are your organs, and your guts are one of your main organs to do, obviously, with your health. That's why a lot of people have, as I said, constipation, irritable bowel syndrome, and other issues that seem to affect the guts. During bodywork sessions, you'll often, if you go for massage or different modalities of bodywork, you'll find that you may hear an upsurge in these tummy rumblings, as I said, which is another description for peristalsis, which is the theme of this talk. And what we're doing at that very moment is that we are working, the therapist is working in an area, any area of the body, where this peristaltic flow of energy has become greatly diminished because of contracture in not just in the musculature, but in the fascia itself, or the connective tissue. So the energy is becoming condensed and compressed. And anything that's condensed and compressed for long periods of time stagnates. And that's even to realize that. So a body that has lost its peristaltic upsurge is stagnating. It has a feeling of stuckness. And that not alone affects our physiology, but also, I would imagine, and I've seen this as a somatic therapist, that it affects our psychology. We tend to become stuck in our living, and we become stuck to old reactive type of habits. We very rarely embrace a new story. And if we do, we stagger through that landscape, if you understand, and we soon return to where we have been originally. I believe that peristaltic upsurge is not just important, I think it's vital, because what you're hearing and seeing and witnessing is an upsurge of your vital life force. In other terms, your ki, your chi, your prana. And when that's not available to you, it's like having a garden hose that has a kink in it, and you get a drip coming out the top. Or what would it be like if you had a fire person's hose and it's really powerful? So your body is like this conduit, and the conduit has become narrow and narrow through many different reasons. Most people try to fit into an expectation that's been given to them by the external world. So they become narrow and contracted. So a body might have tension, torsion, which is a turning or twist, and compression. Now, energy can't really come through that. It will dribble through just like the garden hose. When we realize that, and we want to embrace the fullness of our potential, what I call our primary personality, our natural self, and we come to have body work done, and the person or the therapist works with us, well, what they're doing is helping us to shift from that description and to shift into greater length, breadth, and depth. So we become a bigger container for this life force. And by doing so, we free up that peristalsis, and the peristalsis pushes this beautiful flowing river of energy through our body for expression. It comes up, it's expressed through the arms and hands or through our voice. And so the body that has little or no peristaltic sounds is a body that's subdued. It's a body that's compressed. It's a body that's contracted. And just think for a minute how that affects your thinking. Just sit with that and feel into, oh, that could be me. And what would it be like if I was able to self-regulate, if my body was able to self-regulate, to pulsate at a natural level, at a higher vibration? So what would come through me would come true for me. I've noticed as well as working over the years with many different clients, especially clients who struggle with self-regulation. And that means being able to respond mindfully to situations rather than react chaotically to situations and later regret their reactions. And I would say, and I've seen this, that a person whose mindset prevents them from self-regulation. Self-regulation is the number one sign of emotional intelligence. Well, I would guarantee that person's body is a body that finds it difficult, almost impossible to self-regulate. A body that has lost its peristalsis is a body that is arid, that's dry. It's very hard to plant the seed of possibility and the seed of change in ground and earth that is hard and solid. We need to toil the soil so we can plant new seeds, a new awareness, and allow peristalsis to bring that beautiful flow of energy through the container, which is you, and realign you with your primary personality, the person that you're meant to be. The parasympathetic aspect of the autonomic nervous system controls your peristalsis. So a person that's in fight, flight, and freeze, they're mostly in sympathetic activation. These are people who have a certain sense of traumas in their life. And we've all had some trauma. So we're never either in sympathetic or parasympathetic. We're like a seesaw. We go from one to the other. And what I'm saying here is that people who have greater sympathetic influence will have very little peristaltic upsurge in their body. Their body will become arid, become dry. Their viscera, their organs, can lead to atrophy. They'll be shut down. So you'll have poor function, and that leads to disease, disharmony, dysfunction, all the things that we want to avoid. But let me say this, being optimistic and working with hundreds and hundreds of clients over the years, I have seen this being resolved when we start to address the nervous system and we bring the individual back from a greater sympathetic influence, back to a greater balance and ease, where they're able to find refuge in a landscape of parasympathetic influence, which allows them to rest and restore. It's amazing when you hear the shifts in the body, a body that has been extremely quiet and atrophied after a certain amount of treatments. You'll hear the upsurge of peristalsis, and you'll know there's been a breakthrough. You'll know that there's a resurgence of this life force energy. It is there. It is just waiting to come through. And the most important thing is what comes through comes true. So your story is waiting at that gate. It's just that we've been conditioned to live in a secondary personality, to shut down parts of us in order to be accepted by the world. When you open and investigate parts of yourself that you have been forced to abandon, old landscapes, old territories, you start to come back and shine a light there. It's amazing the value and the worth that is actually hidden in those dark recesses that we explore in our sessions. So what I'm doing here is I'm inviting you to become more aware of how your actually body works, and to become an inquirer of your own truth. And by doing so, is taking the steps to revive your well-being.